To say something is pseudoscience is to imply that there is some definition of science or some rules of science that must be followed in order to qualify as science. It is an appeal to, but then if you ask people, well, what is your definition of science? People get famously ambiguous in their answers. They'll say something about, well, science has science is following the scientific method. But what we've shown, this has been part of the focus of my work from my PhD on, is that the method of reasoning that's used to determine that intelligent design played a role in the origin of the information necessary to life is the exact same method that Darwin himself used. It was a method of historical scientific reasoning where, again, our knowledge of cause and effect is used to guide our thinking, our inferences about what is the most likely cause to have been present to produce the thing that we see. And so if people want to apply the standard of, their definition of science even-handedly, then if they say intelligent design isn't science, they'd have to say that Darwinian evolution isn't science or that chemical evolutionary theory isn't science. But really, you don't settle these important empirical questions by appealing to definitions. You have to settle them by appealing to our knowledge of the evidence itself, and by using established methods of reasoning that are independent of metaphysical biases. When I mentioned a few minutes ago that the reason that people will say intelligent design isn't science is because they've adopted tacitly a rule of reasoning which says you can't consider an explanation that involves creative intelligence. Well, that's a biased definition of science. It's one which is cooking the books. If you think of the origins question, where did life come from? There's two basic possibilities. Either life was the result of undirected material processes, or rather there was some kind of intelligent agent or mind that was shaping the material processes. Either there was mind or there was no mind. Those are two logical possibilities. And if you decide in advance that you're not going to consider creative intelligence as a possible explanation, then well, certainly you will end up affirming that life was produced by purely undirected material processes. But notice in making that determination, you haven't appealed to any evidence. You've only appealed to your definition that science must limit itself to materialistic explanations. So it's a definition that ends up becoming very circular in that it determines the outcome of the investigation irrespective of investigating any actual evidence. And what we're doing in the intelligent design research community is not only making an evidential argument for intelligent design, we're challenging this rule, which we think to be anti-scientific and anti-intellectual, in that it's limiting the intellectual freedom of the scientists to consider all possible explanations irrespective of metaphysical preferences.